Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Bork. You're watching and listening to the Liberties #1 podcast. Yup, the Liberties. Yup, the Flats. Okay, so on the show today, I've got my old pal Liz Gillis. Liz, what's the crack?
How are you, Matt? Good to see you.
I'm absolutely buzzing, guys. I tell you, we interviewed Liz nearly 100 episodes ago, episode 18.
Oh, God. That's way, way, way before the pandemic. That's another lifetime ago.
Yeah, I had a GoPro, I had a little box to balance it. I was like a fucking magician back then. But look at us now, we're Gucci.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Brilliant.
Dead.
Absolutely brilliant.
Smoke and mirrors, Liz. Smoke and mirrors. Okay, so guys, I've asked Liz to come on the show because this is a new series that myself and Andy are bringing you. It's called Leap of Faith. Like our last series, Yup, the Flats. There's many people in flats and around Ireland, Dublin, that have taken that leap of faith. I've done it, Andy done it, Liz have done it. Whether that's not done well in education to decide, you know what, I'm going to give education a go as an adult, or I'm in a job and I'm just sick to me teeth. Yeah, it's a pensionable job, or I'm getting out of here and I'm going to bounce. And there's people out there that we hope, through Liz's story, Liz our first one up, Andy's story, my story, that we can inspire you to take that leap of faith, just to go for it. Do you know what I mean? I truly believe that the only risk we're taking is the one that's a scary one. Do you know what I mean? Isn't it? It's like let's just go for it. And if we can inspire you through this conversation, absolutely fantastic. Liz, so look, I had you on the show in, I don't know, a year ago, 100 episodes ago. Let's give a little backstory. Tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone that hasn't listened to episode 18.
Right. So like yourself, Matt, born and bred in the Liberties, and still here. You can, what's they say, you can take the girl out of the Liberties, but you can't take the Liberties out of the girl. That just applies to anyone who's from the Liberties in any way. But yeah, I'm an historian. Didn't start out as an historian. I was an animator. When I left school, went to study animation. Changed direction, tried me hand at history, and now I'm an historian, sort of specialising in the Irish Revolution, 1916 to 23. And yeah, it's I love history, love the Liberties, brings the two together, especially the Revolution and the Liberties, and it's just, I'm as happy as a pig in shy.
Happy as a pig in shy. Do you know what? And I said this to you at the last interview. I was just raging that I didn't have a camera back then. We just done audio, and your hands go like 90. You tell the story like you're in it. And I remember me and Andy have a connection through his uncle Paddy Doherty. He used to tell me stories, and I was thinking about our interview today, thinking I loved it because you made me feel. And when you tell us, like you're there, like you were talking, like, yeah, and you wanted this, and you want to come out, and your man done it. And I'm like, are you fucking there? Can I keep checking? Are you in it? And like, you make it sound cool. You make something that's not so interesting to some people. History's gone. But I was like, it's deadly.
It's so interesting, Matt. Like, and you know what's really weird? Like, thank God for Zoom, because it saved a lot of us, because being, like, doing tours and doing talks, that's what I was doing for, like, last couple of years, and especially last year being the centenary in 1920, right? That was the year when the War of Independence just went crazy, right? Like, the whole country went on fire. So I was going to be doing talks left, right and centre, and then it all stopped. Like, I was like, oh, what's happening? Zoom then came along, and it was like people started getting in touch. Everyone learned how to use Zoom. It was like everyone just goes, go on Zoom. What the hell is Zoom? I don't know what Zoom is. So everyone had to like do a crash course. And then people started getting in touch, the historical societies, and they were like, can you do a talk? Can you do a talk? I was like, yeah, no problem. And then they were going, oh, but we've seen you in person, and you're very energetic. We don't know if you'll translate on screen. And I'm going, I can guarantee you I'm worse. Or the hands.
Worse?
I would be hitting the cameras. The computer would just get knocked out because I just get hyper. And the thing is, the way you look back, if you've recorded yourself on Zoom, like I've had to do like a few talks where I'm actually just talking to the camera. There's no audience at all, like, and you send it on for them to play it at a later date. I'm checking it back and I'm actually seeing myself. So I've actually only seen recently what I'm actually like. And it's like I'm on speed. I can't even understand myself sometimes, because when I get really, really worked up about something, it's like I speak in tongues. So yeah, it's been great, but also an eye opener. But what you've said there, Matt, like I love history, and the thing is, you're so passionate about this, right? And it just oozes out of you. I'm so passionate about history, it oozes out of me, and that is what I think can inspire people to follow their passion. Because
100%.
if you love it, you know yourself, you'll never work a day in your life if it's something that you are truly passionate about. And if you make a bit of money from it, well and good. But I think it's more so if you can inspire someone to do something, that's what's more important. So when I'm telling the history, and especially with kids, like the school kids, I did a talk today with Luke and Educate Together. And again, I'm just talking to a camera because they're all like, their screens are off and stuff. But it was sort of tying in 1916 but telling the story of the kids. And the kids didn't just die. There's a whole story behind the kids, right? You know, it's like the kids were witness to this. Like, we've all heard stories from our grannies and our granddads talking about 1916 or the War of Independence or the Civil War. But they're remembering what they saw when they were a kid. So they were a kid at the time, so they have a story to tell. So that's
Through their eyes.
Yeah. So I'm sort of trying to get that aspect of it out, and then tie in a connection. I'll always try and tie in a local connection. But the kids were they were soaking it up, and now they're going to start looking at, you know, what else happened out in Lucan. Is there another Lucan connection to 1916? And they're all starting to like look at primary sources, check out newspapers, and check out the 1916 map, like that has interviews with people who were alive back in 1916. So if you can get one kid to just start looking and asking questions and just checking out the history, that's just gold.
Yeah, I can just have pictures of you. It'd be like the kids are watching, what's that, Animaniacs? You're like, go fucking bananas with your hands out. I'm thinking, here's this fucking spacer. They'd be like in 30 years, do you remember your one Liz, that historian teacher we had? Wasn't she a fucking fruitcake?
All we're short of doing is actually reenacting the gun battles, like.
Yeah, like I have a lecturer, and I've interviewed him for the podcast, Dr. Ger Colleran. He's an immunologist. He's an immunologist in Tallaght. And he has been so impressionable on me and how I teach and how I actually deliver education because of the way you are. Like, he used, improv stories and dances and, like, explain complex theories around immunology and our immune system through songs. Wow. Zoonotic transmission of diseases through songs. Like, what was the song he sang to me? I had a little bird and his name was Enza. Open up the window and influenza.
You'll remember that more.
Yeah, like, and then
in the book.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean. And he explained insulin and glucagon all through those songs, and and you just said something there a minute ago which I thought was interesting. You say you find a link to the area. Is that to get them to buy in, or what was that for?
It's just sort of through my own experience because, Revolution, we all know the big stories of the Revolution. Okay. Big names, Michael Collins, De Valera. And sort of the liberties and sort of, little towns and villages all across the country. But the liberties got a sort of, it sort of wasn't included in the big story of the Revolution, right? Some people actually said nothing happened here. Now, when you go back to 1798, as I said to you before, Matt, you can walk up Thomas Street and you've got 1798, the very first rebellion, right up to the Civil War, just walking up Thomas Street, a 5-minute walk. I did a tour there, about 2 months ago, and it took me 2 hours to walk up just Thomas Street, literally, because it was just, this happened here, your man lived there, this happened here, and it's everything. So to say that sort of got me annoyed. So I've sort of been on a mission to prove that the Liberties has a huge story to tell. And when you go back to 1916, the leaders that we had here, like the fellas, the men that were executed for signing the proclamation, like James Connolly lived here, as we talked about that before. Con Colbert, he used to hang around with a girl that was from Basin Lane. He'd be in our house. Sean Houston just walked down in Houston Station. He's in the Mendicity. We had Patrick and William Pearce have a connection here because their dad did the stone carvings of the apostles on John's Lane. Who else? We got Eamon Cant, the big one. Like, he was the commandant of the 4th Battalion. This is the 4th Battalion area. So look at those names. And that's the tip of the iceberg. War of Independence. Like, there was ambush, what to find ambushes. There was a particular point that lads used to wait at to ambush the British military, and it was just beside Vicar Street, the laneway. One of the laneways there. I think it's the Vicar Street laneway, because that was the main road from Dublin Castle out to Richmond Barracks. So the IRA be waiting there for the British to pass by. And there was this fella, he was called Brigadier General Ormond Winter, right? He's called the Holy Terror, and he was brought over by the British to crush Michael Collins' intelligence operation. And, like, you know, you're not a nice fella, you don't have a name like the Holy Terror. And you're not a nice person with a nickname like that, let's put it. You don't know what way to put it. But the IRA actually here, the lads from this area, they shot him. They did actually open fire on one occasion coming down Thomas Street. They were determined to get him. They tried to get him again, I think, up around Dolphin's Barn. Like, this whole area. And then the Civil War. Don't get me started on the Civil War. Because this is just an anti-treaty hotbed. Like, there's a few that go pro-treaty. There's a handful. Like, W.T. Cosgrave would be the biggest one. You know, Kenny's pub. That's where he was. That's where he was from. And he's like the president. He's the president of the Free State in 1922. That's a fella from the Liberties. So don't tell me that the Liberties has no role to play in the Irish Revolution. Sorry, I'm getting worked up now. But we've got the president of the Free State is from the Liberties. His uncle is shot up in Kenny's pub. So there's a few fellas that go pro-treaty but are talking anti-treaty hotbed. Forced fellas to be executed. 2 lads from Eklund Street, 2 from Usher's Key. Best friends, childhood friends. It's just, yeah, so I love it. Absolutely love it. I shouldn't be smiling so much about death, but it's just, and when you find that connection, and that's what I do, like, with the kids and with the talks I do, you find that local connection. It just means the world to people, because not everyone has a big name that comes from their area that was involved, but you cannot tell the big story without the local story.
Right. You're just at the proving the point where I said to Andy, me and Andy were out walking on Sunday, and I was talking about a talk I done in the local solace, and you just demonstrated how important social and emotional intelligence is. You know, you're getting these kids a buy-in because it's something in their area, you're relating to them, and there's more chance of getting the hook. That's why us Liberties people are just fucking deadly.
We all do quite great as well.
We know, and we're modest, Come here, before we fucking fall down a rabbit hole, right, of historians. I'm just sitting here watching it and listening, but I have to remember that I have to keep you on track because we're talking about the leap of faith, right? You forgot to mention that you wrote a load of books, like 6, 7 books, like Penny's one. You're like, oh yeah, books. So you took the leap of faith. Let's go back on it. Where what was you've done 5. Seems like you've had 5 marriages.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I just keep, it's like here, there's another cliff jump off it, okay, we'll see how we go, you know. Well, I suppose, look, just to where the very start, right, so I studied animation, loved animation, grand. I graduated, went to Ballier, did that, went to Australia, worked for a year, but history was something, it was just a hobby. I liked it, that was grand. But I spent Christmas away from home and I went, nah, don't like that, and I came home. It's like I got animation out of my system. And I then started really reading up on Irish history, and it was like, you know what, I think I'll just go back to college just for myself.
How old were you at this stage?
I was 23.
Right.
So I'd done college, 23, 24. And but I actually just went back for it because, see, I didn't want to go back full time because I was working. And that is the big balance that you have to find, like, you know, and you just need money coming in. But there was this college, Cyril School na Hair, and it's still there over in Prussia Street, and it's in the old City Arms Hotel. So anyone who's a James Joyce fan, they'll know the City Arms Hotel. Really historic building. But they ran this degree course at night. And you had to do all of these different courses, but there wasn't exams, right? It was all research. But they offered a course, particularly in modern Irish history, looking at the revolutions and stuff. So I was there going, oh, ticks a box. I'm going for that. Plus, it was affordable. It was like 500 quid a year. So I was like, right, if it doesn't work, I'm not losing too much. Went there, absolutely loved it. The lecturers were all lefties, and they all gave their time voluntarily. So you had like a real sort of sense of community there. And then once I started looking into it, like research, and what they allowed you to do was to actually research your topics. So you talked to them. They didn't basically get you to regurgitate what they were saying. They actually let you form your own opinions.
Brilliant.
And you could disagree with them, but once you backed it up with research. So you're like, oh, this is brilliant. So then I lucky enough, John Gallagher got the place in the C scheme in Nicholas and Myra in the Heritage Centre. And then that gave me the confidence to sort of maybe try tour guiding. I started tour guiding with Nicholas and Myra, and then we had to put on exhibitions. So I started to learn all these skills. And then that was up, my time was up there, and the sort of the end game for me at that stage was to get a job as a tour guide in Kilmainham Jail. I applied for it, didn't get it the first time round. Applied for the second time, and it was a bit cheeky because the guy recognised that I had gone the year before and didn't get the job. And he's like, oh, you've applied for this job again. What'll happen if you don't get it? I said, I'll live. Bigger things have happened, so, I'll get on with it. It's all right. And I got the job.
Deadly.
So then I was nearly there for 10 years.
Right.
And in that time then, I started writing the books. I did an arse about face because I didn't finish my degree. Once I got into Kilmainham, I started meeting all these people. And I was like, oh, this is a great story to tell. And I started like writing little articles with my mate, Micheál O'Divlin. He had like an in-house journal. And that sort of gave me the confidence to write. I started going, I can actually write. And it comes across okay.
Did you have insecurities about your writing before? How was your education? Did you do your leaving? Did you do okay and all that? That wasn't an issue, or?
Yeah, did me leaving, but I'm more artistic. I'm creative. Put an equation down in front of me, and I couldn't tell you what I'm looking at. Nah, like I'm brutal.
Okay.
But English languages, I'm terrible at. I'm brutal. But English, history, if I was to do now an exam in history, I'd be screwed because I can't remember dates. And one thing I always do is history teachers when it goes to schools, first thing I say to the kids is, it's not about dates. And the history teachers go, no, it is. I was like, no, the story is what's important. Get the story first, then you can worry about dates.
Great.
And the other thing is, I had a talk with, I go off on tangents. Leaving cert students, I would do a lot of work with leaving cert students, their projects and stuff. And I was trying to explain to them, look, I know you have to do the exams, but if you look at a lecturer, generally they'll have a PowerPoint in front of them. They'll have the information in front of them, so they're expecting you to learn all these dates off, have it all up here, and they've got it on a piece of paper. That's not very fair, so I shouldn't be encouraging this, but it's like, it's a bit unfair to ask kids to remember all these dates. Get the story.
Yeah.
The story is what's important. So, right, that's gone off on a completely different tangent. But, so I started writing with Micheál, and then I got the chance to write a book. The one about the fall of Dublin. It's about the Civil War, because the Civil War, I love stuff that people don't talk about. And there was nothing really about the Irish Civil War at that time, a few books. And I was really interested then in two brothers that fought against each other in the Civil War down in Cork, the Hales brothers. And no books on them. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to write it myself. If no one's writing the story, I better write it. And that's what I was like, cheeky bitch. But that's what I did, and that was my thesis. So I wrote 3 books before I got my degree. And then I was like, oh God, I better get my degree. So then I finished the thesis, and then that got published into a book. It's a bit arse about face. But then 2015, roll on to 2015, I had a full-time job in Kilmainham, pensionable, everything. And the job came up in RTE to work on an interactive map. And I was like, oh man, this is like the two worlds coming together.
Animations,
And
yeah,
history.
creation, your history love, it's all coming together. It's a perfect storm.
I was like, I'm going for it. And I just took the chance. And I have to say, I was interviewed by a chap and 2 women. And the guy, Liam, he sort of came up through the ranks the same way I did. He started off in the IFI, the Irish Film Institute, CE scheme and all. And he copped There's very few historians that have an animation degree. He's there. I'll have her up and running. She'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So thanks to Liam, I got the job, and it was only a 10-month contract. So I walked away from a full-time pensionable job, and I went, nah, this opportunity only comes if I only get 10 months out of it. I don't care. And now that map, schools are using it. I was using it today with that talk that I did with the Luke and Educate Together, and I was just sitting there for like 10 months watching Lily Connolly, Ina Connolly and Nora Connolly and Roddy Connolly, and I'm picking out the bits of their interviews that I like, and one minute I'd be crying, next minute I'd be laughing, and my boss there going to me, what are you laughing at? And I go, oh, this is great, it's a great story. This young fella stole toffee when he was looting and he couldn't bring it home to his man, and then there'll be an execution story, and I'm like, oh God, no. It was brilliant. And then it just went from there. So I've been working now freelance since 2015, but I haven't looked back, Matt. And like, there's been some hairy moments where you go, did I make the right decision? But here, in here, it's just so much freedom. So much freedom.
Let's talk about the pensionable job, right? For anyone let's say that they're thinking of leaving a pensionable job, what was the thoughts going on in your mind? Because I'm in a pensionable job, I'm government, work HSE, and I want to leave. I'm leaving. What are the voices saying in your head? If you can you remember what were they saying to you? Because I can hear, oh, don't leave a pensionable job. You have that for life. Blah blah blah. What about you?
Yeah, that was what was coming in, and the other thing was, like, it was Kilmainham jail. Like, Kilmainham was the pinnacle of what I wanted to achieve. I was happy as Larry to be in Kilmainham, but it was like, what more could I do in Kilmainham? There was so much more that I wanted to do, and for an opportunity, you know yourself, Matt, when an opportunity arises and when it is so rare, like what happened with me, where animation and history come together, you have to take that risk, because the other way of looking at it is, and I suppose, and talking to me dad, it's great, to have friends are brilliant, because they will tell you, look, they'll give you an honest answer, and, talk about it. Don't just go into it blindly. Talk to different people about it. And I talked to my dad about it and all. He had done that before, like when he left Jacobs. Like, he walked out of it, what was a lifetime job.
My dad did the same. Double corpo, he left.
But so much happier when he left it.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Still works for himself.
You're seeing there in front of your eyes, Matt. And if you get advice from someone like that who you know isn't going to steer you wrong, and I just asked my dad, I said, look, this is, and he knew, because he went, history and animation. So your first college, what I paid for the first time round isn't wasted. So yeah, you better go for it. Like, I get me money back to you.
The fucking gas, Eddie. I spent me money wisely on her.
It's not wasted. Yeah. And then he's there going as well. And those books I bought you better work at history and some shit.
Deadly.
But then the other thing, Matt, is look at the bust. How many people lost their pensions? So you can actually have a pensionable job, but like, what's at the end of it? If it goes all screwy again, like, what's left? So you have to go, look, once you can sort of get by, once you're not putting yourself into a situation where you'd owe yourself, you'd owe debt and all of that, once you're keeping yourself safe,
great point.
Have your foundation there. So if it's a thing of savings and stuff like that, just that you're not putting yourself at risk, that would then end up, you'd be, in a worse state mentally if something happens. That way you always just have to have a little backup plan. Yeah,
because like, as much as you're going there, and what I'm hearing from you and myself is, it's driven by your heart and passion and the love, because then that can sometimes then be outweighed by the stress and the hassle and the financial and the problems, and it's not just as simple of just pulling the plaster off and going for it. You have to kind of weigh it up a little bit as well. And
but the thing is, you'll weigh it up, and if it's something that you are totally really passionate about, it will weigh in that favour. You will find
it's a cognitive bias. You're gonna make it happen.
It is. But you just do your research. Just make sure that you do protect yourself in a way, so that if just there's a blip, because there will be blips, that you just have something that you're not going to get yourself into a situation that, 5 years down the road, you're in massive debt. And so, because you know yourself, Matt, and I had to do it, when you're starting out, You have to do a lot of freebies. You have to, but that's to get yourself out there. And you have to take those hits. But then all of a sudden, people start to call on you. You start to get noticed. And then you do start to earn from it. And like, I never thought that, just doing an odd talk here and there, and Jesus Christ, end up going to Mozambique to do a talk. I've been to Poznan twice to do talks. Travelled all across this bloody country to do talks. And people like what I say. They like the energy. That's. I think I could. As I said, I didn't tell you this one. I went down to do a talk in Knocklong there. My first in-person talk since the lockdown, and I gassed down in Knocklong. They run this a yearly.
What's Knocklong?
So Knocklong, it's a little community down between Limerick, Tipperary. But in 1919, you had this escape from a train, right? So there's this rescue of Sean Hogan. He was only a kid, but Sean Tracy and Dan Bryn, their mates, rescued Sean Hogan from this train because he'd been arrested. He was IRA, and he was getting brought up to Dublin. So they shot 2 police officers. And there's a great description of it in Dan Bryn's book. But the train station is still there. So every year they have a festival to commemorate this event, but then talk about different aspects of the revolution. So this was the first one like I've done since lockdown. And I don't know if I was just hyper being in front of people, but a man at the end of it comes up to me and he says, I didn't understand a word you said, but I knew it was good because you were so passionate. And I was like, you're from Limerick and you can't understand me? And I saw my mate went, well, then you'll have to buy our book, won't you? And I was like, how fast do I speak? So,
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just people sort of see that I'm genuine and they like what I say. So it has worked out, Matt. And as I said, there has been moments where you go, what did I do? Oh, man. I'll go and I'll find a job, a 9 to 5. But then you're going, I'd be miserable. I'd be miserable.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, you've done that and you're at that level, that's a bar. You can go back to that, there's always that. Like, you're not going to go below it. You can go back to that point. Did you get, like, people telling you, don't do that, you're mad,
Never.
It's not, and then I'm also thinking I don't think you listen to too many people anyway.
No, see, I'm in a position as well, Matt, where I don't have kids or anything, so I've always been in that position that I could, do that, because it's really only myself that I've to look after, if you know what I mean. Now, I wouldn't be able to do what I've done if I had young kids and stuff like that. But then I look at other people, and they had their kids and all, and they went back. And they're doing great things. So it's something that, no matter what your circumstances, if you are passionate enough about it, you will make it happen. And if you have that support around you, and like you be the same, I was very lucky that you had people around you that went, go for it. Just go for it, because they knew themselves that they didn't do it years and years and years ago, and they regretted it. The worst thing you can do is not do it, because you will always regret it. Whereas at least if you try it and it doesn't work, once you're safe and once you haven't hurt anyone in the process, what is actually being lost? Nothing. You've gained from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would say about education, whether it's going back to do a degree course, going back to do a diploma, going back just to do like a gardening course, or education is ever wasted, because the confidence that it gives you, but you're meeting like-minded people and you're creating that different set of friendships. It's great to have all of these different worlds coming together,
That's where I was going to go. My mentor, Jeff Thompson, says to me, there's thousands of rooms in the castle of consciousness. And when you move into this, you're moving into a new consciousness. Yeah. You're moving into a different world. You're opening up. As you say, it's not just about the degree. You're meeting now different people, a different community. You've now furrowed a new path, you're now on a new trajectory, where people just think it's St. Core College, or it's just thing. No, it's a whole new world you're going in. You are now leaving your past behind you on a new adventure.
And
it's so much more.
And the other thing, Matt, as well, I would say university isn't for everyone as well, because there is this thing that university, that's the be all and end all. No, I went to a PLC. Best thing I ever did, because I'm telling you, salt of the earth people. I'm still friends with them 20 odd years later. It's the experience of going to college and meeting those people. It's their old school. That's where I have my degree from. And like people think I have a PhD and all, and I go, no, I've only a degree. And they sort of, it's more like they have a problem with it. Because like I remember one time I was doing a talk, and because I lecture like with Champlain College in Dublin, and a fella came up to me and he said, "You're a lecturer." I went, "Yeah." And he says, "What college did you go to?" I said, "Cyril School." He said, "Why did you get your PhD?" And I said, "I don't have a PhD." He says, "Well, I have a PhD and I'm not a lecturer. How did you get a job and I didn't?" I said, "Well, obviously your personality has a lot to do with it." But he was looking at us like, Stave in his waistcoat. Sorry. But, but it's like, it's their snobbery. I was like,
yeah.
look, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, there's two things I want to pick on. First one, I want to go to this point. My pal Lisa, Calla from Shannon's Hope, and we were having a talk one day, and she says she gets this all the time, because she's obviously the founder of that, and she goes to all these meetings, and people ask her, "What's your background?" AKA, what qualifications do you have? And I said to her, and it's very hard sometimes to think when you're emotionally triggered by numpties like this. I was like, what? You've the most valuable background in the room. You've got lived experience. You experience your niece dying by suicide. Yeah. They have a book degree or a fucking whatever academic study. Yeah. You know, people do that, don't they? Like, what's your background, what's your PhD, and all blah, blah, blah. Bullshit.
And at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper. It's terrible that people are judged on that. Because as you say, life experience is so much, you bring so much more to your college experience. Like writing essays and stuff, you know, you bring your experience to it. And that's what I think as well. I pity kids coming out of school when they're told, right, pick your course for your COC, you know. And you're like, who knows what they want to do when they're 17? No one. I didn't. Like, I'm thinking about going back to college again.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Like, it's like, I'm a glutton for punishment. But it's like, go to college. And whether it's university, whether it's community college, whether it's a PLC, whatever type, just go to it and experience it, because different colleges are for different people. You know, it's just brilliant. But don't think that, right, I've done this now, I've got that qualification, that's my life. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not. You can always have the freedom to choose a different path. Of course. But that experience will always stand to you.
100%. You know? And here's a great point that you made there, and I drill this home to people. Because in Ireland, Dublin, whatever, especially where I grew up, you know, college, you know, and I thought once I get that, that'll be the, you know, the dog's dangly bits. I never valued, and people in the hospital said it to me because I had my insecurities about my education, and I was a trainer on open disclosure, and I was teaching consultants and management board, and I used to be terribly insecure, you know, about it. And one of my confidants in the job, he says to me, "Matt, you have something that they don't have, and that's your personality and where you're from." I was like, fuck, it's not all about me degree. And I was driven, once I get this degree, I'll have it made. I still had the insecurities because of where I'm from, but they don't have what we have there, that social and emotional and intelligent, reading rooms, you know, saying certain things, to click with certain people, to bring people in, you know, understanding, reading the room. Yeah. You know, so as much as we say, yeah, go get your degree or go get your HR or your PLC course, which I love PLC. I rate it more so, my PLC or my further education college in Inchicore, than I do my degree. Yeah. Because I thought I was going to Aladdin's cave, and I said, that's a pile of shite. Inchicore was rapid. Yeah. So that's something to bear in mind, isn't it, when people think they're going off just to get the degree? Your lived experience, like we had people sitting here, you know, Paul Keogh and other people that have had struggles with on. You've got your academia, you've got your lived experience with your trauma. That's fucking gold dust.
You can't get that in a book. You cannot get that in a book. And I suppose putting it from, like, putting that, how does that then translate to history, like what I do? So, like, I've been so blessed to have met the sons and daughters of men and women who fought in the revolution and stuff. I've met people, you know, that were out in the Troubles, people that have been affected by the Troubles. Now, I don't know. I'm never, thankfully, hopefully, not going to live that experience. But they're the closest I can get to what it was like for a person at that time. What made a person go out and fight for their country? What impact did that have on them as as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, and all that? And because people trust me and they see that I'm genuine, they're willing to open up and tell me those stories. Now, a lot of historians, and Cathy Scuff will be very like this, and Mihal, my mate, like there's a little sort of gang of us that what you see is what you get with us, and we're really interested and we just want to tell the stories. And they're opening up to us, and we're getting a completely different aspect of the history that a lot of academics don't get, because they just go to the paper sources. They just go to, the archives, whereas we try and talk to the people, and the people will open up to us because they see that we're genuinely interested. And we want to tell the stories of the ordinary people, the people that we don't hear about in the books, and their stories are fascinating. So that's that, using that, I suppose, your personality coming into it, your experience, and is made it possible for me to actually reach out to people. They see I'm genuine and they open up, and I know I'm a much better historian because of it,
Okay.
And I've been able to tell all the stories of what happened around here thanks to, the relatives of those who were involved. And you don't get them in books. So.
Brilliant. Something that I've picked up on you've said a few times. Why is it so important to you to tell the story or to talk about things that no one else is talking about? You've said that a couple of times. Why is that so important to you?
I don't know. I think, my dad was a huge, huge influence on me, and he always said to us when we were kids, don't go for the obvious. Everyone goes for the obvious. Always think outside the box. So, I remember, and my teacher must have thought that I was a bit touched, because...
Do you reckon?
Oh, we had to write an essay on St. Valentine's Day. I was in 6th class, I think. And I was reading it, out to my dad, and I was writing the usual, St. Valentine, blah, 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 blah. And my dad just went, yeah, but... You love gangsters. You love you love all the Chicago era gangsters. Yeah, he said, what was the big event that happened on St. Valentine's Day? And I went, the massacre of Al Capone. And I wrote that in my essay about St. Valentine. And so my dad would be always encouraging us to think outside the box. Don't go for the obvious. So that's the stories, because everyone knows about the story of Michael Collins. Everyone knows about Patrick Pearse, and it's not to take away from them, but Tom Clark, when it comes to 1916, Tom Clark is the man, but no one knew about Tom Clark, and it's you wouldn't have a Rising without Tom Clark. There's a new pub, sorry, doing a plug here, because there's very rarely something's named after Tom Clark. There's a new pub after opening on O'Connell Street named after Tom Clark, just beside where the shop used to be. Sorry, just and with Tom Clark, don't care. But so the thing is, because that holds my interest. And I suppose I'm hoping that if something holds my interest, then it would hold other people's interest. Because you don't want to just going over the same old stuff, man. I know Pearse read out the proclamation, but I want to know what was happening. What was the fella that, was in the GPO?
What's the backstory? What was the lead to it? What's the other things going on?
It's great to get the gossip, what would his people, So, and that's the stories, or they're the stories that weren't told in the books, So, and that then sort of makes you a little bit different as an historian, because you're not telling the same old,
Yeah.
And especially, this area was ripe for the picking when it comes to the revolution, because we were overlooked. We were completely overlooked. So I'm there going, what story will I tell today? It's bim, 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 bim. Point that way, you've got a story. Point that way, you've got a story. That way, you've got a story. And I'm still finding stories. I'll give you a great one. So Civil War, there's raid books, right, in military archives. In the Civil War, the army went out looking for fellas, and they had to fill out these ledgers every night. And they named the intelligence officers and the addresses of the place. Mead Street was getting raided way back in 1922. There was always something going on in Mead Street, even back then. That was great. And you're getting the shop addresses, and sorry, I'm just going off on a complete tangent. Just to give you an idea of the type of stories that I find, right? So I was doing a talk for Kerry. Yeah, I was doing a talk for Kerry Historical Society, and it was about what happened in 1920. And it's just death. Just death. I was there has to be something. Was there a wedding? You can't end it on a sad note, right? And I found in a Kerry newspaper an incident in Mead Street.
How did you find that?
Just trawling through the newspapers, I know Irish newspapers online, right? It's just an online archive now. When the libraries are open again, right, it's free to access in the library. So go into your library, look up Irish newspapers online, and just trawl through the newspapers. They're fantastic. And I just typed in 1920 and was going through them, but just saw this thing, schoolboys escapade, and it's Mead Street. I'm like, what the hell is this now? And do you remember we used to play, and you probably remember this as well, that we used to play the game IRA? Did you ever play that?
No.
When you get captured.
Yeah, and you'd have the police, and one team was the police and one team was the IRA, and you had to batter the word out with you, so you weren't an informer. And all these kids running around play IRA, but that was our sort of way of dealing with what was going on. We didn't understand the troubles. But what this story actually shows was these kids see what's going on, but don't necessarily understand what's going on. So what happened was they just came up with a game. They were pretending to be black and tans, because the black and tans had been born in towns and villages all over the country, on the newspapers, that are smashing houses, that are killing people and all. But the boys made up this game. And they smashed Mrs. Bourne's window, Mrs. Bourne's stationery shop on Mead Street. They smashed her front window. They got caught. Their dads got hauled into court. Their dads had to pay for the repair of Mrs. Bourne's window, right? And I'd say they got battered when they got home. But they made up a song, like, they're like, we are black and tans, come on and smash the windows, right? But from that, Mrs. Bourne's shop is Claude's, the Algerian barbers. It's still there. And the lads are from Mead Place, Catherine Street or Ash Street, and the Kiln. They were like 10, 11 years old. That made a Kerry newspaper. Now, the mileage I'm after getting out of that story is crazy. And that was just a little clipping of the newspaper. So don't go for the obvious, Matt. And that's in your life. Like, that can be just, that can be applied to any aspect in your life. Don't go for the obvious.
Your dad seemed to have a huge influence on you.
Big time. Like what we were saying earlier about going to college, to me, that group of people that you've got a common bond with, you've got something in common with. Because my dad at one stage was like, when I started talking history, he just glazed over. He said, would she ever shut up? Like, now he loved history, but it was like she still talked.
You were like history on crack.
She won't stop talking. and he'd
and he fucking paid for this.
Yeah, seriously. Like, and I know he was so proud. But like, and we were very lucky with my dad, because as you know, Matt, like, he raised the four of us by himself, but his whole thing was education is freedom. Education is power. It's never ever wasted. He even went back to college. I was in college with my dad. So when he then retired, and he's like, sort of, no, it was actually when the crash happened, and everyone, Jay's lost their job. Oh, and a big thing, right? Big thing about the Liberties. Another thing that people don't know. The way we eat our young around here, and now we're hip and trendy, the 15 top.
Yup, the hipsters.
What's it? We're 15th.
15th trendiest place in the world to live.
I don't know why we're not number one, but
yeah,
we know that. But the when the crash happened, it seems everyone in the Liberties went and got retrained, went back to education. We have the highest rate level of third level education in the country.
Yeah.
The Liberties.
Yeah.
Now that is like, for a disadvantage, big inverted commas here now, disadvantaged area, to have the highest level of people going back to education, because education was always an important thing in the Liberties.
Yeah.
It is freedom, it is power, and that's what we had with my dad.
What did he study?
He went to the college that I went to, Stairwell School, and he went and took American history, because he loved, like, he was raised on cowboys and all, like, America was the,
John Wayne.
Oh, him and, Tommy Cowboy down in Main Street, like, they're best mates, so they just, my dad go missing for an hour, and he'd be down with Tommy talking cowboys, but he studied American history, European history, and something else, and the thing for him was that he wants to try it. It wasn't that he wants to do a degree around, but he just wants to see, well, could he write an essay? Did he have the, because he'd be telling us, like, on the outside, my dad would be pushing you, you can do it. But then himself, maybe he thought, can I do it? And he fucking did it. Jeez, he aced all his essays and all, like,
Wow.
and he used to be great, because his teacher loved America. The lecturer loved America, but had that sort of, that idea that that picture postcard of America, that it was the land of milk and honey and stuff, where, and like Abraham Lincoln was this god that was going to save all the slaves, and my dad be like, well, really? And he'd deliberately start arguments, like he'd get debates going and stuff.
And he was...
Oh, he'd come home at night and he'd be worked up because he'd be like, going, oh, it was a great class tonight, we're all debating, like, you know, and he'd start a conversation. So, and to watch to him blossom, it was like, this is cool, but I'm going to college with my dad. And then he's telling me, here, now you're not going out with my mates. He had a better social life than I had. Like.
Ah, yeah. Deadly.
So, yeah, look, it just goes to show education's never wasted. And always take that leap.
And your sister as well, she's big in educate. Miriam, she
teaches.
Yeah.
She went back.
Yeah.
And now she's a teacher. She's a maths teacher. And all her kids ace their junior or leaving cert because she's very practical. And again, she sees the best way to explain it to kids. Like, we all learn differently, Matt. That's the thing. And she teaches the way she learnt, which made her understood, and that's the way I teach with history. I teach the way I would hope to be taught, the way I was taught by my history teacher. And it's not following it's like what you said with your lecturer, that, you know, using songs, wherever works to get people interested, that people can understand it. Who cares if it's, you know, if it's a song, if it's, you know, I don't know, you know, measuring a curtain or whatever to understand. I don't know, is it algebra or something? I don't know. Maths goes right over my head. But, like, Miriam was very practical. And that's how people learn. And that's the way I teach history is...
It's like what your dad said, outside the box. It's not like a PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint presentation. It's not handouts, improvised singing, bit of dance, bit of crack. Take down the barrier. Actually, is not taking this serious. It's not all that serious. You know, we catch more bees with honey than we do with vinegar. She said, no, Dad, this is a bit of crack.
Yeah.
You know, and because, you know, going back for people in education, specifically mature students, there's a lot of nerves there, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of risk. And if you can soften that for people a little bit, whether it's through singing and dancing, and you're not like fucking monotone voice and this happened on that date and fuck off.
I literally, Matt, I can tell you now, and again, people only sort of notice it when I say it to them, but I actually don't use that many dates when I'm doing talks and stuff. Like, there's the year, like, and one way to get out of it is I do a talk on the years, like a year in review. So it's like 1920. So we all know we're talking about 1920. Grand. I'll say August or say the month, but it's like, you know, there's ways and means, there's ways around it. You don't have to overthink it. And I suppose, like, looking at like going back as a mature student, like, there is a lot that you have to give up and more to consider, because you're going to college straight from school, you know. Generally, you're still at home. There's, you know, you have that safety net around you. But when you're going back as a mature student, you have worked, you have, you know, maybe have a rent to pay and stuff like that. But are you free mentally? And as you get older, that can begin to actually make you feel worse. So if you do take, because I know that if I hadn't taken that leap of faith with RT at that time, I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. I definitely know that. And I wouldn't be as confident as I am now. And I know I certainly wouldn't have met as many people and maybe inspired as many people, because I know that I have helped people, you know, whether it's with essays or projects or, you know, plays, or just going, you know what, yeah, I might actually try it. You know? Yeah.
Would you say that your passion and your love for what you were about to do and take that leap of faith, did that overshadow and silence somewhat the fear and the doubts? And
yeah, because, and I think as well, as you said earlier about life experience, so what you sort of survive or come out the other side of in life as well, it can make you stronger. So when you then make that decision, or you're trying to make the decision whether to, you know, leave the pensionable job or whatever, and you look back and things that you've actually come through, okay, you go, look, well, I came through that, and that was a bad time, or that was a really rough experience, but I came through it. So this can't be it. This is something that is hopefully going to lead to a more positive experience for me. So why not do it? And being that a little bit older, you would hope that you'd be a bit more confident to you know, take that step. But and that was me, man. Like seriously, like, you know, to make that decision to leave, because I didn't actually know. Like I knew that 10 months, that was it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was finished on the 15th November, what was it? It was July. I think it was around the 13th or the 14th of July 2016. I finished up an RTE. I didn't know what I was doing the 17th of July. Like, okay. But no way would I have missed that opportunity. No way would I have missed that opportunity. And look,
Look where it's led you today.
Yeah, like, like, because I was out in RTE and they had, there was a guy that worked out there that had sort of seen me, and he'd hear me talking just to my boss, and he was there, and she knows, he'd heard the talk I did as well. It was the women's book that I'd written, and he remembered me, and he then calls down, he says, would you like to go on the GPO, would you like to be outside the GPO on Easter Sunday 2016 to talk about like the centenary commemoration? Now the way your face is there, that was my face, except mouth was dropping, and I'm like going, you what?
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, we think like, you know what you've got to say, and you'd be great. And I'm going, what? I like bounced home. So I was like, I'm there kicking the door open to my dad, going, Dad, I'm going to be on RTE on Easter Sunday or Easter whatever day it was. Like, I'm going to be talking about centenary.
You're like a dog with two Mickeys.
I was like,
what?
jeez, wearing me pennies coat and all was like deadly. Everyone was asking where I got my jacket. It was like pennies. Yeah. So it was amazing. But that's because I was out there. That's because I took that chance. And
another room of consciousness just opening up, going down that path, another furrow, another furrow.
It's,
yeah.
Look, best, oh God, you know what actually makes me, when I think back and I go, oh my God, thank God I actually did do that, because when I look back at the experience that I've had, if I had missed out on any of them, Jesus Christ, now, then I would be angry. I'd be really pissed off and very sad, because the experiences that I've had, and the people I've met, the friendships that have developed over the years, it's just great. But just, yeah, doing it. I would say to people, weigh it up. Look at all your options. Just don't put yourself in a situation where it might cause you more anguish later on. So just have your little supports there. Always have a backup plan, you know. And look, you can always get part-time work. You know, you will be, like I was working part-time with a lot of this. Yeah. But God, follow your passion, because you'll regret it if you don't. Try it at least. You have to try it. And if you're passionate enough about it, you will make it work.
Of course.
You will make it work. And I know with yourself, because look at what you're doing, Matt. Like, you know, starting from, as you said, like in episode 18, the setup that you had and all, and now look.
Like, we're doing a degree here, you know, we're 4 years kind of at that, and people go, oh, you're making money and all that. We just love it. Myself and Annie, fucking, like, poor Andy's hair will fall out by next year, because I do have his head melted. But we love it. He's grown, I'm grown. We're growing, you know, even our friendship, our, you know, our personal growth, psychological growth, and his knowledge, if he's learning on the job about all these things, I'm learning, you know, there's so much more that people don't see. They just think monetization, you know, social media, but, you know, we're taking risks, we're failing. We failed so much. We made up balls of things. Like, you know what I mean? And we have that Liberty's attitude that we just get up and keep going. But it's like what you said, and what you've just echoed right the way through. Passion is the driver. Passion, like, even you go in for interviews, for college, a job, you can't fucking buy passion.
No, you can't. And it just, and if you are genuine about it, Matt, it just comes out of you. Like, as you say, you can't hide it. Even if you try, no matter how hard you try to hide it, you can't. And just when you look, like, I imagine if you just sit back and look at what you have done over this whole experience, but the amount of people that you've gotten on that would inspire someone to go, yeah, or to talk about something that maybe people wouldn't talk about, and here is this voice talking about that. So it's you're opening up that world to people, you know. And look, did you think, like, in the 1980s when we'd be growing up, that Jesus, you'd be doing this, I'd be in the story, and like our lives back then were
Like,
like
I
it wasn't like this.
no, I was what was I gonna say? Oh fuck! I was had left Stephen's Butchers. I started a Man United supporters club, load of lads, and I got them to come over and we're gonna have a chat. And I stood up to say a few things, and you swear to God I was after eating a fucking mattress. Words just wouldn't come out. I got embarrassed, self-conscious, and just had to sit down.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here doing fucking interviews, hundreds of interviews, doing this podcast. Never, like, my mates still slag me about like me talking and public speaking. Like, they're like, do you actually do public speaking and all? I'm like, oh yeah, I talk and all. But back then, never would have done that.
Never.
Mad, and here we are sitting, driven by a passion, driven by a desire to follow your dreams. You know what I mean? Can I ask a question? I see the stuff that you did, the books, right, and the 1916 Rising. There's a lot of, straight away thinking, fucking hell, you going and writing a book? Am I able to do this? Will it be rejected by these know-alls and all these sophisticated historians? Was those insecurities there for you, or what was that like?
A little bit. So the first book I did was like tiny, and it was, if an American did it, and like there was only 75 copies of it. Like, it's a little private book, but it was about Sean Tracy, and I love Sean Tracy. He's just as I've put in, I described him once as Republican eye candy. He's just lovely. But my first book, The Fall of Dublin, and I was a little bit, but see again, my dad, JC was great, because I'd run everything by my dad. So I there was like a filter, there was like 3 filters, right? So I got my dad to read it, and my dad would be, not that he'd criticise, but because he knew about military history and he read loads, right? And he'd just go, might want to change that. Right, so I'd get his opinion. Then I'd get my sister, Miriam, to read it, who had no interest in history, right? So she'd go, I don't want to know. The cattle brew walked up and down the road 50 million times. Just get the story. Just get to the good bits, right? So Miriam would then read it, and I'd get her notes. And then Michal would read it for Michal Devlin. He does the Anne Devlin. He's the expert on her. He would do all like the editing for, typos and all this. So I had like the 3 filters, and none of them would bullshit me. They weren't criticising me to be nasty. They were criticising the work, constructive criticism to make it better. So I had like, the sensitivity sort of knocked down me, like, by the time the book was published. And when you get the forced, like, when you do get a forced critique, and someone like an academic or, does say something, and you go, oh, and you're going, okay, dust yourself off from it. By book 6, right, now, so 6 books, right, now I'm at the stage, I even made up a date in one of my books, right? What happened on the 31st of June? No, nothing, because 31st of June doesn't exist. I made up 2 dates. I'm actually, the 30th of June and 4th of July, and came up with the 31st of June. I didn't cop it, nobody copped it, right? My mate copped it, and he said, Liz, what happened on the 31st of June? I went, I don't know. What happened on the 31st of June? He said, nothing, because the day doesn't exist. And I went,
30th of June.
31st. Nothing. And I was there going, oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
there's no 31st.
But that's just like a massive mistake, but no one copped it. So I was there, you copped it, you bastard. But
and was it in the book?
It was in the book. I wrote it. I wrote the 31st.
And did it get printed? And
got printed. Sure, one of the women's book, they're collector's item now because they got my name wrong. And I didn't even copy it. It's Liz Giles. So here, I'm there going, well, I'm not very good at editing, am I? I start making proofreading. But by like the 4th, 5th and 6th book or whatever, and you're there going, and if someone, because some of them can just be out to get you,
Yeah.
They pick up on certain things, and I'm just there going, well, when you write a book about that subject, come back to me.
Yeah. Is that does that catch in their throat, the fact that you're from the Liberties, you've got an accent that's not similar to many historians? Does that cause you a bit of?
It did at
or
the
does it cause
start.
them? Does it cause them?
No, not me.
Yeah.
I did at the start. People. Mostly what I found, Matt, is people love the accent, because people would hear the accent and they go, where are you from? And I say, Liberties. Oh, the Liberties, I love the Liberties. Now, these would be people from, Donnybrook, from Cork. Like, geez, the Liberties is known internationally, and generally it would always be, I used to go up to Frawley's, Manning's Bakery, is Catherine's Bakery still there? And that is generally what I experienced. But then you would get the experience of, you don't have the right voice. You don't
Snobbery.
yeah. And when I started, because I was so nervous, right, I remember one of the first interviews that I did on radio, and I tried to pronounce my THs and my Ts. And well, I got home and my dad and my sister was like, don't you ever do that again. You sounded like the stadia. Oh my God, what were you? You're trying to put on a posh accent. It was like I had marbles in my mouth. And I was so tense. And then I was like, you know what? Here. And one thing my dad always told us was, people, you're no better than anyone, but no one's no better than you. And never, ever, ever be ashamed where you come from. Because, we go back generations to this area. So then we're insulting our families. If you're forgetting where you're coming from, you're forgetting those who went before you. So I was there going, it's too much pressure to try and remember. And even with that, scripts and all, if I read something, if I'm doing an interview, and if someone puts it down on paper in front of me, I panic. I'm much better off the cuff.
Oh, me too.
And it's like, and if you sort of flap about or get the wrong word, it's like, so what? You're human.
Yeah.
And that appeals to people. But certain other people wouldn't do that, and they don't appreciate that. And that's things they pick you up on. It's like, I honestly don't give a damn what you think about me, because to put it this way, you have your audience. There's a certain audience that certain historians would have. This is the only audience you want to reach. Give me 30 kids from Lucan School today where I know they're going to go off and they're going to be looking up what happened in Lucan in 1916 at the Revolution. That's the audience I want to get.
You're selling the essence of it. Do you know what I mean? You're really selling the juicy stuff. Some people get lost in the dates and the times.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I can't work off a script. Even stuff that me and Andy do. Andy say, do you know what you're going to say? No, well, just let's go for it. Press record and Andy will go. About 20 times later, he's fucking going. Press again, go again, press again. You didn't say and you called me Andy Rooney. My name's not Andy Rooney. Is it not? No. And I can't do a right script down because I'd be trying to remember it verbatim. I'll be trying to, because I'm so anal, go, I must say all those words because I wrote them down. Now we just go, well, fucking go for it.
And let the conversation flow.
Yeah.
Because it puts you at ease as well. And look, and if you get the words wrong,
Who gives a fuck?
This is it. And especially if something is recorded, you can always edit it out, so it's grand. It's, a lot of work for the editor, but you're happy.
Good man, Andy.
Big thumbs up to Andy.
Yeah.
But it's just like, look, I have come up against it, not too much. And I did an interview for a radio show in New York. John McDonough, he's a taxi driver in New York. He's coming over here, he does shows. But he's with, huge man, is Malachy McCourt, right? So Malachy McCourt was Frank McCourt did Angela's Ashes? Yeah, so it's his brother, right? And Malachy actually asked that question. He says, Liz, that is not an RTE accent, because he knew that I was worked with the history show and stuff and I had to be on it, Have you come up against this, this sort of bias because your accent? And I have actually been very lucky in that it hasn't stopped me getting jobs. It's more people, like academics sort of, maybe making a comment initially,
Yeah.
But I just went, look, Malachy, I couldn't hide this accent if I tried. It's who I am. And, there's more important things you're worrying about and trying to worry about your accent.
Yeah.
No.
Something tells me you're so, I wouldn't say, not saying you're oblivious, but you're so caught up in your passion and love for it that you've no time to give a bollocks, really.
Yeah.
You're like so tunnel vision, like, I don't give a bollocks. Like, I actually didn't realise that some of my job didn't like me because he was so busy throwing fucking bed knobs and broomsticks around, like, hey, how you doing, guys? And all. This woman, I noticed, someone says, I don't think she's very fond of you, the way you come in and not give a bollocks. I just didn't really notice.
No, and I think that's maybe a thing, Matt, that comes with age and experience as well, because obviously I'm young and you do sort of tend to take in, I suppose maybe a thing from school, everyone trying to fit in and all the groups and all of this. But then as you get older, you go, when you have those different experiences that are really, life changing, and you go, why will I waste time worrying about whether that person likes me or not? I want to deal with the people that are invested in me. I'm invested in them, and also I haven't got time for this crap. Just get on with it, So, and at the end of the day, that bothers them more than it bothers you, because we're oblivious to it.
And we can spend so much time looking at negative. Just focus on what you love. Focus on what you love. Focus on your passion. Focus,
Seriously, and look, I'll give you as in one thing, a story that it just shows how one person can actually inspire you to do something. And my history teacher in first to third year of Mornemount was Miss Bourne, and I wasn't interested in all the things that she talked about, but could not be arsed about the Industrial Revolution. Now I'm interested in it. But whatever she talked about, she was just so passionate about it, right? So you just were listening to the sound of her voice rather than what she was actually saying, you know? Yeah. And a bit like your man down in Knocklong with me.
Yeah, totally.
I could have been slagging him. But she was the one that actually, as a teacher, inspired me to take history in 5th and 6th year. Now, the teacher I had in 5th and 6th year was not Miss Bourne, and was nothing like Miss Bourne. So I sort of had to teach myself a bit. But I never forgot the passion that Miss Bourne, that my English teacher, that those teachers had for their subjects. So when I wrote the first book and at the launch, I invited Miss Bourne to the launch, my history teacher. And she came, and she came up to me and she goes, "My career wasn't a waste. I got one of yous." And I was like, I used to go, oh my God, no, you got more of us, but no way was your career a waste. Oh my God, you inspired me. Look what I'm doing now. It's like, you're the reason. And it's like, but she felt that her career as a history teacher wasn't really that important. But yeah, she is part of the building block for me that helped me go on to be what I am now. So if you meet a person that can inspire you in whatever it is, and if you can sort of meet them one day and say, look, do you know actually how important you were to setting me on that path?
Here's one for you. I was in the stall I have a meat street, and a lad came in from Oliver Bond. Stephen Boylan listens to the show from the get-go, has sent me deadly support from the flats. It's lovely to hear from people around here. He said to me on Saturday, his kids was there and his missus was there and all that, and his family. He was saying to me, I'm trying to get her to listen to your podcast, trying to get her to listen to Liz Gillis' interview. I says, that's mad. I says, she's coming on Tuesday, our new series Leap of Faith. You know what I mean? Like that interview that me and you did out there had an influence on him, and he's still talking about it to his kid, getting his young one to listen to it. Like, that's inspiring. So thanks to Steve, fucking.
And it is great when you have that. And one thing I will say as well about this community, Matt, and we've said it before, they will get behind you 110%. If they see that you're trying to be successful or something, they will egg you on. They'll encourage you. Now, try and get a booger station, and they'll kick it off the pedestal, and they'll hit you over the head with it. But they are. Like the support that I've had from people around here,
because it's genuine.
Because
it's genuine, and I try to, and you do the same. We promote our area. Like when me and Andy start off, he says to Andy, I want to go out, meet all these people, meet all these doctors, psychologists, bring it back in service of our community, in service of
bringing it down to the local.
It down to the
whether
local.
It's history or what you're doing, Matt, with mental health issues and stuff like that. Bring it down to local, make it accessible to people, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get through this, and if we can find something that we're passionate about and maybe turn it into some form of work, you don't know how it's going to impact positively on other people, but mainly on yourself. It's and to be in a place like the Liberties, it just makes it a little bit easier to do that, because you know that you do have that support, and you'll have people that will also say, look, you're being an arsehole, Don't get above your station, and they'll tell you that that episode was crap or that book was crap. I didn't like what you did there, and it's constructive criticism in a way.
It's just delivered like a kick in the balls.
You learn to develop a very thick skin around it.
Absolutely. Come here, this is a good old interview, good old time space. We could talk for fucking, we could talk for fucking ever.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, it's 8:45. Andy's. I've never seen Andy saying, keep going, keep fucking going.
Don't till 9:30.
We will in our fucking hole. People are going to pain our bollocks. In service of, like, taking that leap of faith, what's the one thing you would say to people to go and do, or what are the important things to bear in mind, remember, other than passions? Or
Do talk to people. Don't go into it blindly. Don't do anything in the heat of the moment. As in, if you're, say, in a job that you're not necessarily liking and stuff, and something happens and you go, I'm out of here. Oh crap, what's the backup plan? You know, have your ducks in a row. Have something set up. So if you are going to leave, make sure you're leaving for a reason. And, you know, how is this going to happen? Do have a little bit of support and talk to people. Get advice from those who are close to you, because you'll find more often than not they've been in the same situation, so they can advise you. Like I talked to my dad, like you talked to your dad, like they did this themselves 25 years ago.
yeah,
And when they had kids too.
that's a great point, because I talked to somebody that hadn't do it and they told me not to do it. Like, they're in the same position I'm in. They're like, oh no, you're leaving a pensionable job and blah blah. They've never done that leap of faith. Or
Well, I only had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day about pensionable job and stuff, and he's like, right, well, put it into realistic terms, right? So if they're paying your pension, you have to pay into the pension as well. So that's what, 100 quid a month or something. You can easily put away 25 quid a week, if a pension is sort of what's important to you. Healthcare, does healthcare really matter now at this stage? Like health insurance, seems we're all screwed at this stage.
Yeah.
So it's like those things that are, you know, maybe preventing you. There's ways around it, you know. It's
Yeah.
not the be all and end all, except if you have a mortgage and stuff like that. That's
of
the
course.
stuff that just has to, you have to make sure that you're taken care of, because otherwise that will just have a huge impact on you mentally.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
need that pressure.
Yeah,
But I would, and if it's safe for, like, you know, people thinking about going back to college, try a part-time course. Don't go whole hog into it. There's loads of brilliant community college, as in Warnemount, DHCEC, there's Pierce College, there's all of these.
Inchi Core.
They all offer
You up the flats.
part-time programs,
Yeah.
taster courses. So try something like that.
Online courses.
There you go. And then generally you find that if once you're in the system, then there's ways and means to move on. So you'll find that there's scholarships that you don't necessarily have to have this huge amount of money to pay up front. Get into the system that way. And then one thing I would say, especially to kids as well, is that, you know, with the leaving certainty, don't get the points and all of this, and they've applied to these colleges or universities and stuff, and you don't get in. There's always a way around it. Do your PLC course, get your year, and then that's how you get into your university course the next year, and you have a nice year to get you sort of ease you into what college life is like, rather than going slap bang right into university where it's full on. There's ways and means, Matt, and it's just to do your research. But one thing I would never say to anyone is don't do it.
No.
You know, it's...
I just want to echo something you says there about PLC course. To just, like, comparing PLC versus university. I went to IT, Tala IT, but I was in Inchicore first.
Yeah.
They're just nicer, as in, was certainly my experience, further education college. Just, there's a bit more... It's about you, and you're not just a statistic or a number and a price tag in the likes of Tala. I didn't even collect my degree for Tala. I was that pissed off for it.
Wow.
I didn't go. I was like, nah, keep that fucking thing. But I was in a different place in my headspace. But still, I stand over now. I wasn't impressed with them. It was all just about money and stuff as many people into a science lab as you can. Shit, we're in Chicago. I just loved it, and I learned so much. And not looking back now, they genuinely cared about me.
Yeah.
You know, it was very, very community driven, and yeah, it was they're great experiences, and you do it soft and you get you ready.
And that's probably why I don't think I could actually go to, like, typical university now to be one of, like, what, 200 bodies in a room, because I'd be like going, hello, I need this attention, because I had that in college. I had that in Sarah Earl School. Like, in Sarah Earl School there was like 6 of us in the class. So we were spoiled, like, you know, we were just bored in the lecture going, oh, tell us this, oh, and same in Ballyfermot. There was, 20 of us in the class or whatever, but the teachers had that time to come around and talk to you and get to know you and stuff. And I think, there's the adult education, the community courses, the PLCs or whatever. What are they called now?
I don't know.
We know them as PLCs.
Yeah,
Don't
further
dismiss them. Don't dismiss them because they can lead on. They can lead on to your ultimate goal, your end goal. But I think they're great ways or great places to gain a grounding experience, certainly for education.
I done a leisure management. I done personal training. Got a level 6 from the University of Limerick through Inchicore. I then went on and done my degree. I didn't gain any further up the field. I got a few more strings in my bows. Like I covered some psychology. I done some biochemistry and all these kinds of learning about science and all that. But I could easily have got a job and done work and went well on what I got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can still.
No one can take the qualifications away from you, Matt. That's the thing. That's why education is never, ever wasted.
That's a great point, isn't it?
And if you never work at it, you never work at it. But it's never wasted because a degree, now everyone needs a degree to get a job. So it doesn't matter what your degree is in, you'll have a degree. Education is never, ever, ever wasted.
And here's the thing, and I tell this to trainees in my hospital all the time, and where you're just saying that you do a degree, the skills you acquired are transferable. If you apply yourself to a degree, consistency, discipline, commitment, resilience, you can do that to your job, to your life. You have the wherewithal and the transferable skills to do it anywhere. It might be different content and different knowledge, but you've got the fucking the problem solving skills, all the things that you take to get a degree. You can just transfer them.
Yeah. And then if you go back as a mature student, you've got then the addition of life experience. And then it's just like, you can easily do this, no problem. Grand. Write an essay, no problem. It's like, clean up after, a baby just spewing all over the place this morning. Yeah, an essay, no problem. So, it's like, put it into context. But as I said to you, one thing I would never say to people is don't do it. Follow your dreams, follow your passions. Because it can just lead to so much. It can really lead to so much.
Deadly. Andy, I see you writing over there. Did you want to ask a question or something? Because usually when Andy's writing over there, the questions he holds up a board.
Will she ever shut up?
Fucking Andy's fucking keep going. Liz, I'm gonna say this out of I think 120 interviews, hands down, you're my favourite. Yeah, you're a storyteller. Your passion is fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal.
31st of June.
31st of June. When do you want to go on that date? 31st of June. Fucking, you're deadly. I fucking love you. I'm so excited about this interview. You're deadly. You sell education, you sell history, you sell storytelling. It's deadly. It's fucking, and you're from the Liberties, so obviously I'm biased.
No, look, dude, Matt,
biased.
where you come from, and come here, and thanks for the opportunity. And I'm in awe of what you are doing here.
You're the only interview that's been on twice. Bam, 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 bam.
Boom.
31st of June. No, that's a fucking true story. She's the only interview I've done twice. Or the only person second.
31st of June.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next book, 24th of June.
I'm making up stuff that there's not in the books, no, because it didn't actually happen. But happened on the 31st of June.
Right, so there you have it. Leap of faith. Liz, you're an absolute gem. We're just privileged to have you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving me a hand when I done that talk up in the Guinnesses. You shared your knowledge and your fucking passion with me. You're just deadly. We're blessed to have you. Guys, like, if that whole package doesn't inspire you to just take the leap of faith, there's so many nuggets of gold in there that you can pull from that. The fact that she's a woman, the fact that she doesn't give a bollocks, the fact daring greatly, there's so much there. Do you know what I mean? I take an hour to fucking digest that. I loved it. Take that leap of faith. So if there's anything, you want to go back to college, you want to leave your job, there's so much information that Liz to give, to take away, just go for it. Yeah. Go for it. It's not wasted. Were you going to say something to me, Andy?
Yeah, just about if people want to get in touch.
Yeah.
We're here.
What?
We're here.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch, they have questions for Liz,
Yeah.
for us,
Yeah.
like we always do, we point them in the right direction.
Yes, yes. So if you want to know anything of Liz could be even a support, touch base, are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
On
and
Bookface.
I'm on Twitter, Liz Gillis, 1916-23.
Liz Gillis, 1960 and 31st
Just
of
for the 31st of June.
31st of June.
Someone had been hooked on it. Thousands of followers. Look at this 31st of June.
Yeah. Brilliant. Andy, I hope you can hear Andy just waffling in the background there.
I'm getting a mic on this desk.
Yeah, you're not getting a fucking mic. You can't.
The mic is 31st of June.
You can't get.
We
You
have
can't.
two spare mics here.
Can't shut you up. Right,
At a round table.
Liz Gillis, you're an absolute gem, guys. That was an absolutely phenomenal. What a start! No pressure on the next person to come on and match that. They better be good at leaping, because that was like a fucking like a kangaroo leaping around here. So look, if you've enjoyed that and you think of taking a leap of faith, or you've a family member that's taking a leap of faith, share this with them. Share with family and friends. We'd really appreciate it. We'll think you're deadly if you've done that. As always, thanks to you guys for listening. Thanks for sharing our work. You'll find us on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on all the platforms and iTunes. We're on social media. Please rate and review the podcast. I forgot to do that. I used to always say that from the start. I don't say it anymore. just look, enjoy the work. We're here to share the stories that have the power to inspire. And that was in service. Liz, you're deadly.
Oh, thanks a million, Matt. And Andy, thanks for looking after us, and great to be on today.
Yup, the flats.